All right, let's move on and talk about some of the traps that leaders fall into. The number one trap I think they fall into is burning out because they're not getting enough help. I'm only going to touch on this, but basically you should never run or start a co-op by yourself. You have to have a team of people because it's that much work. I was talking to, I do phone consultations a lot, these two wonderful women that started a co-op by themselves, and they were asking me questions on the telephone about some aspects of it, and I said, well, you know, you should really set up a board, and it should have a chairman who sets the agenda, and maybe a vice chair who takes over for the chairman, and then a secretary, and then a treasurer, you know, a board of at least 3, maybe 4, and start talking through their duties, and the one says, well, Susan, no wonder we're so tired. We're doing the jobs of 5 people. Yeah, they were. And so I encouraged them, they needed to start building more of a leadership team to carry the burden. So burnout is one of the number one traps that leaders fall into because they're doing too much. But this person sitting on the throne reminds me of another trap that leaders fall into. It's called founder syndrome. You ever heard of this? I bet you've seen it. Maybe you suffer from it yourself. I don't know. The founder syndrome is when someone starts a project or an organization or like a homeschool co-op. Typically they start a nonprofit and they start it out of the generosity of their heart and they pour their heart and soul into it, and it is their baby. It is as much their baby as any baby they birthed. And they can't give it up and they can't let anybody else control it, and that's called founder syndrome. The founder feels like they own this and they can't give it up, nor can they let anybody else touch it for fear they might change it. Anybody know anybody like that? Some of you are like, oh, it's pretty serious condition in the nonprofit arena, and we have to guard against it. And the way you guard against it is you never consider that co-op yours. It does not belong to you. The money in it is not yours. I ran into a homeschool founder who thought that. She ended up with a large surplus. She thought that money was hers. No, it is not yours. It belongs to the group. It stays in the group. You should never run it alone because you might fall prey to founder syndrome. And the problem with founder syndrome is when it's time for the founder to step down, and they should step down, or they should take turns, is that they are irreplaceable because they have done everything. And then the group might die because the founder took it with them when she left. So we want good succession plans, if you will. You know, you don't want to have the Steve Jobs who he tried, but you know how he got sick, he stepped down, he came back because Apple was his baby, right? So anyway, we kind of want a good transition. Don't act like you own it because you don't. And finally, ignorance. Now, I can help a lot with ignorance, but this is a trap groups fall into. I didn't know. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. It's one reason why you're here. It's one reason why I set up Homeschool CPA as a website to give you lots of information and resources. It's kind of what the back side of your handout is. We can talk through some of the things I don't want you to be ignorant about anymore so that your groups run better, smoother, and you sleep better at night. Fair enough? Okay. I want to talk about some tips that I've seen as I've talked to leaders, and I've helped since I started Homeschool CPA in 2006, that's when I launched the website, and I started writing books in 2008. So not very long if you think about it, but I think I've helped over about 150 groups. I think I might be closing in on 200, and I do a lot of telephone calls with them. But these are some of the things that I see, certain attitudes, and we're going to talk about those, but certain attitudes are I'm giving you as tips to help you better manage your homeschool co-ops. And then I'm going to talk about some tools to help you better manage your co-op. And finally, we're going to talk about some knowledge, which is, again, like the backside. And I can make that part of this presentation very interactive. If you have questions about any of this stuff, if you need me to repeat anything, the knowledge is what I'm good at that I can try to give you. Okay? Attitude. Remember this. Write it on a plaque. Say it to yourself a lot. Say it to other leaders. You cannot be all things to all people, so stop trying. You cannot be all things to all the members in your homeschool group, so stop trying. Have anybody had this happen? Some parent comes and says, I would like you to fill in the blank. And it's always, I would like you to, not I would like to volunteer to, right? Has anybody had that pressure to expand their co-op, to offer more than you have offered, to grow, to expand? Okay, you don't have to. You might want to, but you don't have to, and you have to carefully consider the costs. Would anybody mind sharing what it was, if you recall, that you were asked to do, that you had to contemplate? A few nodding heads. You want to share what you know? It's okay. Field trips, that's one. We want you to offer more field trips, or we want you to offer classes for the high schoolers, which is a big burden to take on if you've not done that before, because it gets more serious. You have to have someone more qualified perhaps to teach some of the high school level classes. And you can just say, I cannot be all things to you. It's very closely related to this statement. Your homeschool co-op is not essential to the success of homeschooling. Homeschooling existed before co-ops were able to form. They will continue to exist. Just about every parent out there would like to convince you that your co-op is necessary for her success, and it's not. So don't take that burden upon yourself. Know that your co-op can fold if it needs to, and homeschooling will continue. Okay, that said, I just told you all the good things you're doing, right? But don't feel guilted into continuing if your homeschool co-op needs to take a break or go on hiatus, or say, sorry, we can't hold classes this semester, no one stepped up, or I'm burned out, I need a break, okay? It's not important, it's not vital to, essential is the good word, not essential to the success of your members' individual homeschool, okay? Don't be guilted into it. So if my nurse friend didn't offer biology dissection, what was I gonna do? Was it my co-op's responsibility to offer biology dissection to Carol Topp's high school student? No. It was Carol Topp's responsibility to go find it. And I found one of these online virtual dissections where you don't have to it was like humanitarian frog dissection. Have you heard of those? That's what I would have done. But we got the not real live frogs, we got real frogs. I was gonna say real live frogs, they weren't live. All right. This is an important attitude for you to remind your members of too. Not just you, remind your members of that, okay? And this one, you are not responsible for homeschooling other people's children. And some mothers are very anxious to put that on you. And you hear this, don't you? Well, I thought you offered Algebra 2 at the co-op, therefore, I'm checked out. You're taking care of Algebra 2 for me. No, 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 my co-op meets 1 hour once a week. How could I possibly cover Algebra 2? I'm just here to kind of give them tips, you know? I taught career exploration. I taught it 2 or 3 times at my homeschool co-op. Now, I liked teaching career exploration. It was fun to help these kids explore things. What I didn't like was that the mothers would say, oh, you're going to tell my child what they're going to be when they grow up. Oh, no, I'm not. Don't you put that emotional responsibility on me. I'm not the mother of that child. The child doesn't even know what they want to be, let alone, you know. So don't take on this belief that you are responsible for homeschooling other people's children. You're not. All you're doing is offering some classes to help supplement what they're doing in their home. Believe me? Do you? Yeah, okay. Tell yourself that. Make sure your people know that too. You know, however you want to say it. Put it out in an email blast. Say it as a reminder at the beginning of opening, or if you do that kind of stuff. Or, hey, I listened to this woman and this is what she said. You know, make me the heavy. I can handle it.